Cover chapter 4, but I'm going to cover chapter 5 as well. Chapter 4 is really short. It's important, but it's short. So let's go ahead and get started. Professionalism and professional relationships. A professional is a person who has specialized training for a particular career and who acts in conscientious, appropriate ways in the workplace. Being a professional involves conducting yourself in an appropriate manner, dressing appropriately, being organized, timely and accurately recording meetings with colleagues and clients, and being prepared for meetings. Acting responsibly at all times, behaving as a mature adult, using language that is culturally appropriate, age appropriate, understandable, and not offensive, speaking honestly and with integrity, knowing how to communicate information. Each setting has different expectations. Roles vary based on different ages and backgrounds of clients, system size, individuals, groups, families, and organizations, level of training or education. Practitioners with graduate degrees might have several roles, working independently in private practice, being a counselor or educator, being a supervisor, being a consultant, being a director. One task that practitioners with graduate degrees may be asked to do is act as a mediator. A mediator provides an impartial forum for disputing parties to discuss areas of disagreement or misunderstanding. Generalists maintain expertise in a broad range of functions: case management, coordination and monitoring of services, broker, linking clients with services and resources, and advocate, working to support a client. So they have to wear many different hats. Being a professional goes beyond what you do in your interactions with colleagues and clients. Being aware of the social, political, economic, and cultural factors that impact individuals, families, groups, and institutions, and advocating for their betterment. Developing a professional identity involves knowing what it means to be a practitioner of your particular discipline. Scope of practice involves knowing what activities, knowledge, and skills identified by licensing boards and professional organizations relate to your discipline. Sometimes organizations will employ groups of professionals that they will organize into working teams. Each member will bring their own professionalism, culture, education, and individual ways of dealing with clients. Working productively with interdisciplinary teams is an important aspect of being a professional. This may mean that the practitioner must learn the language of another profession. Every professional must respect the expertise of their professional colleagues. The practitioner working in a team must recognize that different professionals may work toward the same goal using different methods. Even in the same profession, practitioners may use different approaches. Your supervisor will help evaluate your level of competency by providing feedback about your use of skills, inviting you to engage in self-reflection. Consultation involves meeting with an expert who can help you solve a particular dilemma or problem. Sometimes your client's problem may be beyond you or your team's ability to handle. At that point, a consultant must be called in to help. Most professions set ethical guidelines for remaining current with best practices, continuing education, evaluating your work, continuing education, and ethical standards every year. While the practitioner is responsible for structuring the relationship with the client, success can only be reached if the relationship is collaborative, goal-directed, purposeful, and time-limited. A relationship between a client and practitioner is a fiduciary relationship. The client has confidence and trust, and fiduciary means trust, in the practitioner's competency. Unequal, with practitioner having more power than the unique nature of the professional relationship is that it's unequal, with the practitioner having more power than the client. But with power comes a responsibility to help the client in the manner prescribed initially by the practitioner. And that's the end of chapter 4. So let's go on to chapter 5. There we go, chapter 5. That's a long chapter. Developing working relationships. A practitioner should begin a professional relationship by determining how they will present themselves and how they will behave. It is important for the practitioner to set aside their personal feelings and concerns in order to fully focus on their client. It is important that a practitioner accepts and understands the client's beliefs, perceptions, stereotypes, biases, prejudices, and life experiences. The core interpersonal qualities that a practitioner brings to the relationship include warmth, respect, genuineness, empathy, and acceptance. Trust can be developed by being understanding or empathetic, listening attentively, and showing respect. Warmth, being kind and accepting in a non-judgmental way. Expression of warmth in one culture may be perceived differently in another culture. Cheek touching is commonly used to show warmth in many cultures around the world. When I was working up in Montana on the Fort Belknap Reservation, hugging was one of the things that you always did. It's a very hugging society, but when I came down here, Navajos don't hug nearly as much as they do up on the northern plains. Empathy is the ability to understand another person's emotions, feelings, thoughts, and behaviors from that person's viewpoint. As we attune to another person's internal state, a feeling of being connected develops. Being empathic involves having the willingness and flexibility to put yourself in the other person's reality. Empathy is understanding assumptions, beliefs, and/or worldview. Empathy requires understanding another person's subjective experience while maintaining the capacity to differentiate from that person. Empathy is not the same as pity or sympathy. Pity involves sorrow or grief aroused by someone else's suffering. Sympathy involves feeling affected by whatever affected the other person. Respect or unconditional positive regard is expressed by affirming and appreciating clients without condoning their harmful behaviors. Looking for the good, regard for thoughts, feelings, and abilities, noticing, acknowledging, and highlighting clients' strengths, capabilities, resilience, coping ability, potential, and resources. Being polite and following appropriate cultural norms. Genuineness is being sincere and authentic, being real and allowing your humanness and uniqueness to be seen, being natural, honest, and forthright, admitting mistakes. Offering advice is inappropriate to offer. It is inappropriate to offer advice until you have fully understood the people involved, their challenges and situation, and collaborated with the clients on setting goals. Offering advice before you know what the client have already tried can be experienced as not respecting their strengths and capacities. Reassuring in an attempt to reduce pain. And these are common mistakes that people make. Offering advice too early, reassuring in an attempt to reduce pain. The pain clients feel about their problem can motivate them to solve the problem. Negating the importance of the client's pain can lead them to feel that they are not fully understood or respected. For example, telling someone it will all work out in the end Don't worry about it indicates the capacity to stop worrying on command, which most people can't do. Another common mistake, offering excuses. You need to help the client set goals, asking leading questions, questions that give advice, dominating through teaching. Teaching is dominating or pushing. It can suggest one right way. Communicating in a dominating way tends to invite people to feel shamed or rebellious and to withdraw or become defensive and argue. It implies there is only one way to resolve an issue. And this is a problem we have in academia. That we present material in just one way. And if we do that, the assumption is that there's only one way to do things. The reality is there may be lots of different ways to do things. So if I ever come off as being directive or trying to show you only one way, the reality is that when we're dealing with clients and we are counseling, there's any number of ways to do it. Your textbook will give you a way to do it, but that's not the only way to do it. Everybody has their own personality, and if I haven't told you this enough, then you need to understand that just because I do things in one way doesn't mean that that's the only way to do things. As a matter of fact, it may you may be better. We all have our own gifts, and we all have our own way of doing things. And remember the genuineness part, or was there it is genuineness. If you tried to use my way of doing things, and that's all you tried, then you wouldn't be being genuine. You need to be genuine, so you need to be yourself. The more you're yourself, the better you will be able to communicate with your clients. And that is the reality of counseling. And that's one of the reasons why when people do counseling, I really don't wander around and say, you're doing that wrong, you're saying too much, you're saying too little. You've got to be yourself, you've got to represent yourself, and you've got to be unique and genuine. And if that means talking more or talking less, then that means talking more or talking less. If that means waiting to ask questions, that means waiting to ask questions. If that means not disclosing your life lessons, then don't do it. My way of doing things is to disclose some of the things about myself, to tell stories. That fits for me. That works. That's my level of genuineness, I hope. Where am I? Okay. Labeling, a sophisticated way to judge, criticize, or blame another person, and is not helpful if you label them. You punk. Punk? What does that mean? Here, let me look that one up. Interrogating why questions are particularly problematic because they sometimes imply judgment and also invite defensiveness. These are common mistakes. Core interpersonal qualities, developing your own ability to be empathic, reading novels and professional literature about people from different backgrounds, joining in activities, talking to and getting to know others who have different experiences, attending classes or workshops focused on specific groups of people, traveling to different countries and spending time with local residents, doing volunteer work in communities or neighborhoods very different from your own, watching popular movies about people who are different from you. This is really kind of fascinating because I just came back from Indianapolis last Friday. Yeah, last Friday. And one of the things that I noticed in Indianapolis, it's so much more diversified than when I left Indianapolis. Well, I didn't leave Indianapolis, but the last time I visited Indianapolis, we were down on the southeast corner of Indianapolis, a section that used to be Beech Grove. It's still Beech Grove, but Beech Grove is now part of Indianapolis. When I was there before, Beech Grove is its own little town. Beech Grove has a lot of immigrants in it. Let me say that. A lot of people from Asia, from South Asia. There are a lot of people from the Indian Peninsula, South Indian Peninsula, the southern part of Asia, India, Bangladesh, Pakistan. A lot of people from there. Very, very different from what I was used to when I was growing up. Almost everybody in Indianapolis was either black or white. Now, the black and white population have primarily moved out of the Beech Grove area, and that's where my colleague is living. He's living in Beech Grove, and it fits. It fits because he's from Bangladesh. And he was saying this himself. He says, it doesn't feel like I'm in the United States because so few people are white. And of course, he went to, where did he go? He went to Ashford, and that's where he was my student. And then he went to Wright State in Dayton, Ohio. And primarily, most of the people that he went to school with were either white or black. And now, living in Beech Grove, most of the people that he interacts with are not either black or white. So why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because we need to understand everybody. He was buying a car. He's trying to buy a car. And he called all these people up on the telephone and said, hey, it looks like you've got a good car that I might want. The first individual that he called was named Milton, and Milton turned out to be from Honduras. The second person he called turned out to be from Togo, which is in East Africa or West Africa. And his son was from Nigeria because his wife was from Nigeria. Real interesting stuff. Who else did we visit? Wait a minute. What other cars did we see? I can't remember. I can remember the guy from Nigeria and the guy from Honduras. He eventually bought the car from the guy from Honduras. A Mazda 3. I hope it runs well, because they'll probably blame me if it doesn't. Anyway, so just recognizing, just wanting to know about people from, 2 or 3 different places, that's just not going to work in counseling in the future. Now, the interesting thing is that your textbook is written by 3 college professors from Indiana University. And Indiana University, of course, is just south of Indianapolis, about 30 or 40 miles, maybe a lot farther than that, maybe 60 miles. It's about an hour south of Indianapolis. So potentially, they understand all of these things, and they have put these movies in there. This is something that you need to do. You need to read about the people that you're dealing with and try to figure out what their culture is like. And one way to do that is to read books. Another way to do that is to watch movies. And as a matter of fact, my wife and I watched Dark Winds last night, and we laughed at some of the things that they considered Dene to be considered Navajo. It was really kind of interesting. What were they saying that was so far off? The guy's name was, it's Leaphorn and Chi and Manuelito are the 3 stars of the show. But there was something else that they were saying that I was thinking, that's just not right. When they said Yaate, they didn't quite say it right. I don't think any of them are actually Dene. Anyway, I'll think about it, or I'll think of it in a second. So let's talk about some of the movies that you could watch in case you were dealing with somebody from another culture. This is Real Women Have Curves. It's about a second generation Mexican American girl. Hoop Dreams is about inner city African American boy. This is Hoop Dreams is about Chicago, African Americans living in Chicago. Mystic River is about an inner city white boy who is sexually abused, and this is an old movie. Sean Penn is the individual that was sexually abused. Mystic River is in Massachusetts. Girl Interrupted. This is the first movie with Angelina Jolie in it. Winona Ryder had already made a couple movies by this time. It's about a white teenage girl who is mentally ill, and one of them commits suicide. I can't remember which one he eventually does. American History X is about a white boy in a neo-Nazi group. Bend It Like Beckham is about a second-generation Indian girl living in London. And Keira Knightley, this is her first movie, I think, or it's her second movie. It's the first one that she was in a lot. Anyway, Bend It Like Beckham. It's really kind of fascinating because you get to watch the individuals, and they're Sikhs. This is something that we were dealing with because my friend is from Bangladesh, and so that's in the eastern portion of India, or that's east of India, and the eastern portion of India actually speaks the same language as they do in Bangladesh. And the Sikhs live in western portion of India. It's a huge country, and they have a different language and a different culture from majority culture in India is Hindu, and Sikhism is kind of a mixture of Hindu religion and the Muslim religion. They actually live in between Pakistan and southern India, and so it's really kind of interesting. Pakistan, of course, is Muslim. I Am Sam, another Sean Penn movie. People with a developmental disability, and that is Sam, Sean Penn's character. Radio is about people with a developmental disability. That's Cuba Gooding Jr., and he becomes a real part of the athletic program at this high school. My Family, Mi Familia, Three Generations of Dreams. This is about a Mexican-American family living in Los Angeles. What's Eating Gilbert Grape, one of Johnny Depp's first movies. It's about a white rural family dealing with issues related to poverty, autism, obesity, depression, and suicide. And I can't remember which one of those is Johnny Depp. And who else is in it? Leonardo DiCaprio, I think, is in this movie, if I'm not mistaken. Soul Food is about an African-American family facing serious illness and death. Sleeping with the Enemy is about a woman's struggle with partners who are physically abusive. This has Julia Roberts is the abused individual. Her husband is obsessive-compulsive and abusive. Tina, What's Love Got to Do with It, is about women struggling with partners who are physically abusive. Tina Turner was being abused by, what's his name? Ike Turner. That's her former husband's name. She has now passed away, of course. But she was married to Ike for a number of years, and she was married to Ike when she became famous, and eventually, of course, she struck out on her own and kicked him out. People Facing Challenges Related to Aging, The Notebook, and of course, well, I've never actually seen this movie. I think it has Ryan Gosling in it, if I'm not mistaken. On Golden Pond is about people facing challenges related to aging. Again, Katharine Hepburn, Henry Fonda, and Jane Fonda. This was the last movie that both of these two individuals made. Henry Fonda and Katharine Hepburn. Driving Miss Daisy is about people facing challenges related to aging. It's about the interaction between Morgan Freeman and Jessica Tandy. He is an illiterate chauffeur for her. He is hired to keep her in line, strangely enough, by her son, Dan Aykroyd. And eventually they create a bond with one another that is really kind of fascinating. Iris, I've never actually seen this movie. People facing challenges related to aging. I've never really seen it. I think it's about New York City, a lady in New York City. Women, okay, 28 Days is about women with drug and alcohol problems. She is an alcoholic, and it's about her trip to sobriety and dealing with not only her alcoholism, but also her significant other not supporting her. It's really kind of fascinating. Losing Isaiah, women with drug and alcohol problems. That is Halle Berry has a drug and alcohol problem. She abandons her child in a dumpster, and Jessica Lange is the individual who adopts Isaiah, and then Halle Berry's character comes back and tries to get Isaiah from Jessica Lange, and it's about the two of them dealing with each other and dealing with Isaiah. When a Man Loves a Woman, it stars Andy Garcia and Meg Ryan. Meg is an alcoholic, and one of the things that they discover is that when she becomes sober, her personality changes to the extent that he's not exactly sure how he feels about her. Gracie's Choice is about women with drug and alcohol problems. Never actually seen this movie, I don't think. And it's in German. Boys Don't Cry is about people dealing with issues related to discrimination and sexual orientation. Hilary Swank and Chloe Sevigny is they play lesbians, if I'm not mistaken. I think I've never actually seen the movie, but she won an Academy Award. Hilary Swank won an Academy Award, and somebody comes and abuses them or murders them. I can't remember which. Anyway, it was one of the best movies of the year when it came out. Boys on the Side, I've seen this one. People dealing with issues related to discrimination and sexual orientation. And of course, somebody has HIV. I can't remember who. Anyway, that's part of it. It's all these women who come together and they're trying to support one another in any problems that they have. This isn't it. Wait a minute. Drew Barrymore's character is pregnant. Whoopi Goldberg is gay. If I can't, is a lesbian. If I remember correctly, I can't remember who that lady is. Anyway, Philadelphia is a story about a man with HIV and how people deal with issues related to discrimination, sexual orientation. This is Denzel Washington is his lawyer, and he tries to he sues the company that fires Tom Hanks as a lawyer, and he sues the law firm trying to get him reinstated. The interesting thing is that Tom Hanks' boyfriend, because this was before same-sex couples could marry, Tom Hanks' boyfriend is Banderas, Antonio Banderas. I think this is his first movie in the United States, if I'm not mistaken. I may be wrong. Brokeback Mountain is about people dealing with issues related to discrimination, sexual orientation, and this is Heath Ledger and Jake Gyllenhaal uh, are lovers and cowboys at the same time. Not easy. The Crying Game is a really old movie. People dealing with issues related to discrimination, sexual orientation. Um, Fascinating movie about this is an individual who is transgender, and that's part of, and he falls in love with her, but then discovers that she's transgender, and that's the movie is the interaction between these two individuals. Desert Hearts, about people dealing with issues related to discrimination, sexual orientation. I haven't actually seen this movie. Longtime Champion is about people dealing with issues related to discrimination and sexual orientation, and I haven't seen that one either. Milk, starring Sean Penn again. Once again, Sean Penn. People dealing with issues related to discrimination, sexual orientation. I remember when Harvey Milk was a politician in San Francisco, and he and the mayor were assassinated by this guy. He was the first politician, acceptable politician in San Francisco or whatever. Anyway, he was outwardly gay, and because of that, this individual felt like Milk stole his job, and so he shot Milk and the mayor, killed he and the mayor. And his defense was that he was eating too many Twinkies, and the sugar or whatever the additive was caused him to go crazy. Anyway, Milk. As Good as It Gets, a white man who is dealing with obsessive compulsive disorder. Cuba Gooding Jr. is the owner of this dog, which he falls in love with. He's also in love with a waitress who tries to help him get over his obsessive compulsive disorder. Really good movie. It's got Jack Nicholson, obviously. That's Jack. Beautiful Mind. Russell Crowe plays a mathematician who has schizophrenia, and how he sees things and how he deals with it. Children of a Lesser God. It's kind of an old movie. It's about a white woman who is deaf, and that's Marilee Maitland and William Hurt, who has just recently died. I think he has, maybe not. Anyway, they fall in love, and it's about how she interacts with the world in order to survive. Really fascinating movie. My Left Foot, this is Daniel Day-Lewis's first Academy Award. He plays a man with cerebral palsy, and he can only move his left foot, I think. The Green Mile stars Tom Hanks. It's about men in prison. Dead Man Walking is about Sean Penn again. Sean Penn, about men in prison. He is about to be executed, and Susan Sarandon is a nun who tries to ease him into death row. The Shawshank Redemption, old movie. It's about men in prison and how they survive. The Saint of Fort Washington is about people who are homeless. I've never actually seen this one. Monsters Ball is about the struggles of a single African American mother. This is Heath Ledger's last movie, I believe. No, his last movie was The Joker. Monsters Ball. It stars Halle Berry, Billy Bob Thornton, and Heath Ledger. let's see, how does this work? Halle Berry's husband is on death row, and these are the two individuals. Billy Bob Thornton is a guard at on death row, and his son works with him, and his son is Heath Ledger. And if I understand correctly, I've never really seen the first part of the movie. Well, seen the last part, which is kind of cute. But the first part of the movie, Heath Ledger and Billy Bob Thornton meet this guy, and they like this guy. And of course, Billy Bob Thornton tells his son, "Don't get close to him. Don't get close to him, because he's going to leave, or he's going to be executed." And the man that is in prison is Halle Berry's husband. Okay, so they do execute him, and Heath Ledger is so upset that he commits suicide. As weird as that seems. So Halle Berry's son, by the man that was just executed, is hit by a car, and Billy Bob Thornton helps her. This is in the rural South, and he helps her with her son, and then her son dies, and she's all upset, and he feels empathy for her, and so he tries to help her in any way that he can, and he eventually falls in love with her, like everybody doesn't fall in love with Halle Berry. Anyway, that's really fascinating. I don't know where Monsters Ball came from, the title. The Soloist is about an African-American man who is homeless, has schizophrenia, and is a talented musician. That's Jamie Foxx. And Robert Downey Jr. tries to help him. The Joy Luck Club is about second-generation Asian-American women. They are Chinese, so just calling them Asian-American doesn't really identify what the group that we're dealing with. They're not Japanese, they're not Korean, they are Chinese. Joy Luck Club. Challenges of a Taiwan Family, Eat, Drink, Man, Woman. I think this one is actually in Chinese, but it's about people from Taiwan. Now, you've got to understand, well, China's a huge country with lots and lots of people, and the different areas of China are different. They have different cultures. They speak different languages. Mandarin and Cantonese are the two major languages, but there are other languages from that area. Taiwan is, in 1948, the communist Chinese government took over the government in China and kicked out the individuals that were not communist, and those individuals were nationalist Chinese. And the nationalist Chinese at that time went to the island of Taiwan, which had already had people on it, but all of these people came, or as many people as could, went to Taiwan and became that, and they set up a government based on the nationalist Chinese political structure. And so that's what Taiwan is. Once upon a time, we recognized Taiwan as the Chinese government and not mainland China. It wasn't until the 1970s that this happened. So from 1948 until 1972, the United States didn't recognize, those 1 billion people that lived in China as being around, as being alive. And they didn't recognize the Communist Chinese government either. They recognized the Taiwanese. So Taiwan, of course, has this really strange political position all over the world. And they used to make a lot of, they used to manufacture a lot of small things. They used to manufacture, transistor radios and television sets and whatnot. But now that most of that has moved to mainland China. But the personalities, the mindset is different in Taiwan and China. So if you watch this movie and then you watch this movie, you'll see the difference between Taiwan and China. Uh, Amrika is about a divorced Palestinian woman and her son. I've never seen that movie. Rhapsody in August is about Japanese children visiting their grandmother who lived through the bombing of Nagasaki. Of course, that was the second bomb was dropped on Nagasaki. Nagasaki, the first bomb was dropped on Hiroshima, the first atomic bomb. And of course, they're the only two bombs, atomic bombs, that have ever actually been deployed in warfare. Teacher in a, oh, I'm sorry, Stand and Deliver is a movie about a teacher in a low-income Hispanic neighborhood. Lou Diamond Phillips is one of the kids. That's Almos. I can't remember his first name. Anyway, it's about a bunch of Hispanic children, Hispanic students in high school who do very well on math because he teaches them in a very directive way, the way that they need. It's really kind of fascinating. Four Little Girls is about the challenges that African Americans face. The four little girls are the four girls that were killed in a church bombing in Birmingham, Alabama, back in the 1960s. Caused a huge civil rights problems in the United States. That was Spike Lee who directed that movie. He also directed and starred in Do the Right Thing. It's about the challenges of African Americans. He works in this guy's pizza parlor. That's Spike Lee right there. Ghost of Mississippi is about the challenges of African Americans face. This is, I used to live just north of where this took place. Freedom Riders. There were people that were trying to register African Americans to vote, and the Jim Crow white population didn't want it to happen, and so they pulled them out of their cars and murdered them and buried them. And it's about Ghost of Mississippi is about that interaction between the racist South and the FBI that came in to try to solve the mystery. Long Walk Home is about the Birmingham bus strike, and it stars Sissy Spacek and Whoopi Goldberg. The Celebration is about an upper middle class Danish multi-generational family dealing with incest and violence. I've never actually seen this one. It's kind of old. Yesterday is about rural African family. Both parents have HIV, and this is about Africa, which has just a horrible problem with HIV, even to this day. Tuesdays with Maury is about a white man diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease. That's Jack Lemmon. Rain Man. Dustin Hoffman won a Academy Award. This is Tom Cruise when he was younger. It's about a white man diagnosed with as an autistic savant, and that's Dustin Hoffman. That's an older movie. Lars and the Real Girl, a white man dealing with a mental illness. I've never seen this movie, but I read about it, and it turns out that Lars falls in love with a mannequin, and he hauls her around town, this small town, wherever he is, and it's Ryan Gosling, obviously, but he hauls her around town, and people start treating her like she's alive, which is kind of fascinating. Sounds like a cool movie. Cyrus is about a single white mother who has devoted her life to her 21-year-old son. She falls in love with John C. Reilly. This is Marissa Tomei, of course. And she falls in love with John C. Reilly. And Jonah Hill's character is the 21-year-old son. And he tries to undercut Riley every chance he gets, and eventually he decides to try to grow up and get out from under his mother. Fairly inappropriate relationship he has with his mother. The Diving Bell and the Butterfly is about a white man adapting to being mute and paralyzed. I've never actually seen this movie. Pieces of April is about a white middle-class family. Oldest daughter is estranged from the family. The mother is ill and dying, and she has aging grandparents. That's Katie Holmes as a kid. Precious won the Academy Award for Best Film whenever it was made. It's about an African-American teenager living on welfare, pregnant as a result of incest. I've never actually seen it. This is Monique, and she won an Academy Award, if I'm not mistaken, for her portrayal of Precious. Fascinating movie. This is The Namesake. It's about a first-generation Indian man coming to the United States, and his attempt to live in both the world and going home and living as an Indian man and living in the United States, and the differences between the two are just amazing. It's a really very good movie. I've actually seen this one. City Island is about a white blue-collar family dealing with a grown son recently released from prison. I've never seen this one either. As It Is in Heaven is about a white Swedish community with issues related to the impact of bullying on a child and domestic violence, and it's called mobbing in Scandinavia. The children will pick on one child. Everybody will bully them, and it's called mobbing. So this is a real serious problem in the happiest place in the world, as weird as that is. Winter's Bone is about a poor white Appalachian family, father missing and the mother is mentally ill. I've never seen this one either. Goodnight, Mr. Tom is about a white British family, single, mentally ill mother, neglect, and abuse of children. I've never seen that one either. Children of Heaven is about a poor Iranian family struggling to manage, and I've never seen that one either. American Beauty I have seen. It's about a family facing challenges. Kevin Spacey is the father. He falls in love with his neighbor. His neighbor is a 16-year-old girl, and he falls in love with her. Annette Bening is his wife, and she refuses to have sex with him or to have anything to do with him, not because he's fallen in love. He falls in love after Annette Bening rejects him, and it's about the fantasies he has about his next door neighbor. He moves into the garage, starts lifting weights. It's a really kind of a fascinating movie. I think it was a movie of the year whenever it came out. Really interesting movie. Lost in Translation, this has Scarlett Johansson and whatever his name is. It's about challenges faced by white adults. They are in Japan. And Japan, the Japanese culture is very, very much different than it is in the United States. It really, living in Japan shows you what your culture is all about, because the difference between the Japanese culture and the American culture is like night and day. It's really kind of fascinating. And that's why they use Japan. I think Scarlett Johansson and Bill Murray, is that Bill Murray? Yeah. Have an affair, but I don't really remember. I haven't seen the movie. Up in the Air, I have seen this one. It's got George Clooney in it. It's about challenges faced by white adults. Life as a House, challenges faced by white adults again. I've never really seen this one. Million Dollar Baby was a Academy Award winning movie. Hilary Swank won the second Academy Award. Challenges faced by white adults. Clint Eastwood is her trainer. He trains her to be a world champion boxer, I think. And Morgan Freeman, of course, is his corner man. He's the manager, and Morgan Freeman's the corner man. And it's about her trying to become a world-class female boxer. Edward Scissorhands, this one always confuses me. It's about challenges faced by white adults. I've never seen the movie. It's got Johnny Depp. It's one of his first starring roles. Just doesn't make any sense to me. Never has. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind stars Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet. He's divorced, and I've never actually seen the movie. Challenges faced by white adults. Okay, here we go. Powell Highway. American Indian adults seek understanding on a road trip to rescue a relative. And it takes place in the Southwest, I believe. I've never actually seen this movie, but I have seen Smoke Signals a number of times. Excellent movie. It's about an American Indian teenagers from Washington seek understanding on a road trip to find their father, and the father is on the Navajo Nation or down in Phoenix. Anyway, he's in Arizona, and it's about them trying. It's about the road trip, trying to figure out why the father left and the rest of it. Skins it's about an American Indian adult battling greed and displacement in Sioux country. I've never seen this one either. Songs My Brothers Taught Me is about American Indians dealing with life on the res. I think this is in South Dakota. Wind River is about the Wind River Reservation. It's about American Indians battling modern life on the reservation. It's about a murder, and she is a FBI agent, and Renner is the works for the Fish and Wildlife, I think. Anyway, he's a tracker, and they figure out what's going on. Really good movie. Just a really fabulous movie. Shouting Secrets. It's about American Indians dealing with success and failure. I've never seen this one either. Basketball or Nothing. The importance of basketball in today's reservations. This is about Chin Lee. And Chin Lee has one of the I didn't realize this, but Chin Lee has one of the 10 largest high school basketball arenas in the United States. The other 9 are in my home state of Indiana. So there you go. Reservation Dogs is a television show about modern reservation life. And I can't figure out how to get this. And of course, I didn't have Dark Winds, which my wife and I are watching the second season now. We watched the first season, and of course, we're laughing at some of the things. Anyway, there you go. A lot of movies about white people, about Swedes, about Hispanics, about indigenous people, about Iranians. So if you have a client that you need to find out about, that's not a bad way to do it. And of course, you need to take this with a grain of salt, just like any book that you read. Movie was made whenever. It was made 2008, 2015, whatever. And you have to realize that things change over time, and people change over time. So if you read Hillerman and think that you're learning about the Navajo Nation, you're learning about the Navajo Nation in 1998 or whenever he wrote, and it isn't all that accurate. I can tell you that. So there you go. We'll talk to you next time. It's one of my favorites. I like to talk about all these movies.